Hello, welcome to Adobe Flash ActionScript 3.0 tutorials. Today we'll be doing lesson 13, which is in using third-party libraries to extend ActionScript. And in this lesson we'll learn how to do the following, which is to download and install third-party ActionScript libraries, use the Paper Vision 3D to add 3D capabilities to ActionScript and Flash CS5, create a 3D scene with Paper Vision 3D and add 3D objects to it, add bitmaps, movie clips, and video as surface materials to 3D objects, use Paper Vision 3D methods to render a 3D scene, control the movement of a 3D object with the mouse and keyboard, use the Caurina Transitions library to add tweens to 3D objects, and finally to use NetConnection, NetStream, and video classes to control video entirely with ActionScript. Okay, so let's get into our tutorial today. So now we've gone through most of our lessons already, actually all our lessons, and this is actually the last lesson in the series. Now we've taught you how to use ActionScript and to do program. However, a good programmer doesn't just write his own programs. He actually uses and builds upon work of other people. And this is where third-party libraries come into the picture. So the first 14 lessons introduce just a hint of what could be done. We showed you the animation, the tweens, and everything. So in this lesson, we want to teach you how to use third-party libraries that are available on the internet. Now, today's tutorial uses the Paper Visions and the Caurina Transitions library. However, there are many other libraries that are available on the internet, and some of them are truly amazing, including libraries that allow you to do 3D motion, physics simulations, ragdoll simulations, and things like that. So go on to Google, do a search for ActionScript libraries, and there are plenty of libraries that are available out there. Now, how do we use them? So let's just follow our tutorial and see how. Now, but one more thing is that you can actually download these libraries as an uncompiled source, like a zip file, or you can actually download it through Subversion. Now, another way is that sometimes the developer wants to keep his code secret. That means he doesn't let you see the source code. So what he does is that he pre-compiles it into a SWC file, So it's smaller and it just allows people to download it quicker over the internet. Okay, so let's just open up our Flash, okay, and now as you can see here, there's Flash over here. So what we do to indicate how to add another Flash library is you come down to Preferences over here, okay, and what we do is that we select the ActionScript option over here, and then over here in ActionScript 3.0, we come to the source path, okay, or the because we are using uncompiled source. If you're using compiled source, you use the library path for SWC files, or you can even use runtime shared libraries. So we just gonna come here, okay. So you can see, can you add? Okay, but what you gotta do is you gotta do a browse to path, and we gotta come to the Paper Visions library over here, Paper Vision Caurina libraries, which is actually in the lesson folder, lesson 15 folder that we have here. Okay, so just select this Paper Vision library, and that's it. And then just click Choose. So this will add it to our library. So whenever our ActionScript or Flash compiler wants to look for a class that we can't find, it will look into these libraries to find the class that we want. So just click OK, and OK. So that's it. So let's just open our test file. So let's open our test file to see whether it works. So let's open our test file. Okay. Now, as you can see over here, there's nothing over here. Okay. However, there is a class called test file over here. Okay. It says it's looking for this class test file. Now, what I can do is I can show you what is. I can show. You can see that there is only one layer, and there is nothing in this layer. If you click on the ActionScript button here, there's nothing here. So let's just go for a run and see what happens. Now it's taking some time to compile because it's looking for the file and getting all the libraries compiled for you to use. Okay, and there we have it. So where did this come about? Okay, so what happened was that, well, it's basically another file. So let's open up here now. Notice there's a test file, the ActionScript, which is the same name as our Flash file. Okay, and also the class that was created, that was set as a class for this thing. So as you can see over here, all the code is done here, and it uses the paper vision libraries over here. So instead of putting all our ActionScript inside the Flash file, we put it inside this ActionScript file over here. So as you can see, the paper vision library do work. Now, okay, so now let's see what we're going to do in our tutorial. So we're going to go open over here, and we're going to open up our completed file just to see what it looks like. Okay, so notice our complete file, there is nothing in the timeline. You can see there's just a background and there's no ActionScript here. So if we open up our ActionScript over here, as you can see, all the code is done, is all written over here. So just follow along as we create this runtime model finished project. I'm going to just give you a demo of what it's supposed to do. So let's just go and export this again. And it's taking some time. Okay, and as you can see now, okay, you got this part over here. Now notice if I click on this, and as you can hear there's music being played. If I click over here, okay, it opens up a browser window over here. It clicks to Passion Records, and you can see that if I press I can actually move this cube. And I can click on this cube here, and I can actually see different parts of the cube. Okay, notice that there's animation over here, and actually there's somebody playing the guitar here, electric guitar. And I can actually press the space bar and move this cube over, and come back. Okay, so now it looks, for beginner programming, it's like, wow, how can I do that? It looks so complicated. Well, it's easy if you use the right libraries, because people have done all of this for you, and you just tell them, okay, step one, do this, and do that. So let's just close this and open up our start file, as always. So we're going to just open up this start file here. Okay, as you can see, there is nothing here. If we go over here and come over here and click on the ActionScript, there is no ActionScript at all inside this file. So how do we go about writing this? Okay, so what we do is that we open up another file, which is this file over here, cube3d.as. Okay, so now we got this here. Now notice it's just a framework that's written. All the import statements have been put in already. The basic movie clip, events, video, NetConnection, all these import statements are over there. And it's just basically a framework which says this is a package, and there's this class over here, public class 3D. Okay, so next part here is that what we want to do is set the main class of this file. Now we go to properties. Notice there's no class over here. So what we're going to do, okay, we got to just save this as, save it as, well, there's nothing really much to do actually. We can just save, we'll save it as working copy. But there's really nothing much, there's no real point, because there's only one change we're going to do with it. Okay, so now make sure you go to the first frame, click, and then deselect everything. And now notice here in the properties, you just come here and select, type in class here, and just type in cube 3D. And that's it, cube 3D. Now notice we didn't put cube3d.as because that's not the name of the class. Cube3d.as is the name of the file that contains the class. Okay, so let's so that's it. So now we just save this. Okay, we saved this already. Now what we gotta do is open up our cube3d.as file. Okay, so now there's a lot of code written in. Okay, so now so we'll be using the Caurina Transitions, Caurina Paper Vision, and the Caurina Transitions library. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use the basic view class. And what we're going to do is we learn how to do, we're going to inherit from a super class, which is the basic view class. So just come here and just type this. Now what this does is that when somebody has written a class, we don't have to keep on doing it all over again. So what we do is that we do this thing called extends. Now what extends does, it says, okay, I've got this class that's already been written by somebody, but I want to use everything there, but just add a few more features that I want. So that's in a nutshell what inheritance does. Okay, so that's it. So let's test it, compile it. Okay, there's nothing much change. Okay, so there's no syntax errors there. So Cube3D is also a basic view class, so you can call any methods in the parent class. So when you do an extend, basic view is the parent class and Cube3D is the child class of basic view. Okay, so after that, okay, we got to create two variables here. We got to say private var cube, okay, and we got to say cube 3D. So what it does is that there's actually a 3D class that's already written by the Paper Vision 3D library, and we just going to create this cube here. Now this cube is going to be primitive, one of the primitive 3D objects. Okay, so what's next? Okay, so we're going to create one more variable here, which is the private variable called zooming. Oops, Boolean. Okay, and we've got to set a default value of false over here. So what this is going to be used for is that it's going to allow us to know whether we are zooming in or out. Okay, so next thing is going to create a constructor function. Okay, so how you do that? Okay, remember constructor must be the same name as the class. So we just copy of public function cube3d. That's it. So that's our constructor function. And slightly different from the way we work with other types of lessons so far is that we must always save the AS file each time because, Flash doesn't know that the ActionScript file is part of the working copy. Okay, when it says run, it always runs the Flash file. Now I'm just going to try it out just to make sure. Obviously nothing will happen. So notice there's nothing happening here, but you can see that it works. Okay, so what's next? So inside this function, in this constructor, we should also call the parents class constructor, because inside the parent class it may do other initialization. So we've got to just type here super stage.stage width, stage.stage height, true. Okay, which is whether it's interactive. That means we want to listen to mouse clicks. And sorry, set to scale to stage, and the final one is whether it's interactive, which is true as well. Okay. So this one allows to detect interactions. Okay. So the next thing is that we're going to work on this thing called materials. Okay. So because when we click on the cube, we want to be able to detect mouse clicks or keyboard presses. Now we add code to call two more functions. One is this thing called, okay, let me call it the make cube function. Okay, this is actually a higher level function to make it easier for us to know what we're doing. Now the second function would be the start rendering. Now this is actually inside the basic view class. So actually it's part of the parent class. Now this function works similar to the enter frame listener. Is used to render basic view at the frame rate of the Flash project. Okay, so now that we've done it, okay, now what you're going to do is to add in 2 listener events to listen for keyboard events. So we're going to come here and we're going to just type in stage.add event listener keyboard event dot key down on key D. So we're going to type add event listener keyboard event dot key up and on key U. Okay, so that's it. So what it does is that we got to do this. Okay, we got 3 functions to do. One is make cube, on key D, and on key U. So let's just create the functions here. Okay, we got to come in over here, make sure it's over here on inside the class. So we got to say private function make cube. So that's one function there. Okay, it's just a frame, and we've got to create one more. It's private function on key D. And we've got to click here private function on key U. So there we have it. Okay, so let's just put a trace statement here, just saying in key D. I don't think it will work, but let's see whether it works or not. And trace in key U. Okay. Okay, we've got to save this. Make sure we save. In order to do this, we must always save the file, and we've got to just run it one more time. Okay. Now the key to doing programming is save when you think it's runnable. Save and then check whether the results match what you expect it to do. So notice over here, and notice when I actually, okay, so actually called key U, okay? So actually called key U. Okay, now there's an error here. Now what's the error here? Okay, that means actually because we just put it over here, we didn't put any arguments here. So let's just put E keyboard event. So you notice as when I do my programming, I always test all the time. So even though I thought, oh yeah, I'm going to write a function here, but I forgot something else, which was the keyboard event parameter. And I also forgot the return type. So there's an error there as well. Okay, so let's just do that. And we got to save it one more time. And we got to run. And let's see whether this works. Now the key to programming one is, as I said, testing is the experience of typing in code and testing and running it. And it's really wonderful to see. As you can see, when I press my keyboard presses, I can see in key U and key D, I can see that actually it is receiving my keyboard functions. Okay, so now that we know it's receiving keyboard functions, we know so far everything is A-OK. Now, like I said, to learn programming, you must try to type in the code yourself, bit by bit, step by step, testing and trying it out. Now, what I would suggest to you is not to copy and paste code. I know it's very tempting to paste code from the manual. You can just copy it and paste it in. But that's something like going to the starting point of a roller coaster, then you walk to the end of the roller coaster and say, oh, I've done it. I finished riding the roller coaster because it's from point A to point B. But that's not the point. What learning is an experience. You want to experience going through the experience of writing code, so at the end of it, you've learned something. Just as riding a roller coaster gets you from basically the starting point to the end point, but you've experienced something and have something to learn from or share with your friends, or with, or at least learn whether you have a fear of heights or not. Okay. So let's continue on in the make cube function over here. So now this is our own man-made function, okay, and we're going to use it to make the cube and edit all the materials. Now in 3D, when we do 3D animation or 3D modeling, we have this thing called materials, which is basically which you can use from like video, or can use JPEGs or other things which can like sort of like paste on our 3D model, something like wallpaper. So let's just call this materials. And we got to create a list of materials, because the way it does is that it receives a materials list. Okay, so this is a materials. Now, so with this materials list, now the reason why you want to have a materials list is because a cube has 6 sides. So and the way the Paper Vision 3D libraries work is that it receives a list. Okay, so next thing you've got to come down over here. So this is the basic list, something like an array. So over here we got to create our first one, image mat 1, and our first one is a bitmap. Material equals to new bitmap file material, and we got to just put here dot dot, which is parent directory assets back.jpg. Okay. So it just says that it's going to open this file over here, which is in my Finder. Okay, so it goes up to assets, which is the parent directory, and it's actually going to take this picture and put it into our cube. Okay, so the next one is that we got to say that this material is interactive. That means it can receive our mouse click. So in mat1.interactive equals to true. And I'm going to do something else, which is actually put a comment, because then I want to be okay, that allows us to understand what we are typing in. Okay, and over here the next one is we got materials dot add material mat1. Okay, and what does this name say? Okay, this name tells you which side we want to put it on. We can say all sides are going to have this material. So it says, okay, fine, we've created our back face of the cube, and we got to put it all to the material list. So over here. So finally, what we're going to do is we're going to add it to our, we are going to create a cube. And we're going to set the width, which will be 640. As you can see that Flash actually gives you programming hints, so it tells you what each parameter does. Okay, it says, okay, I've done the height. Okay, the width, height, width, depth, sorry, the width, the depth. So the next thing is, that's highlighted is the height. So it'll be 480. And the next thing is segments, how many segments we're going to use, which is actually something like the number of triangles used to create the width, height, and depth. So we're going to just put 4, 4, and 4 segments for the different type of width, height, and depth of the cube. Okay, and then that's it. Okay, the rest have default values, so we don't have to set those values there. So the next thing we're going to do is add an object click listener. So over here we're going to add a listener, as always, yeah, event listener. And we're going to look, and for this event listener, we're going to use this, which is actually called from the Paper Visions library, which is interactive scene 3D event dot object and we got to call this function, which is called the onClick function. Okay, so now that so now that we have that, okay, so obviously we need to create the onClick. Okay, so we have to wait. One more few things is here is we're gonna add it to the scene. Cube to the scene, which is here. We can say cube add child, and over here we got just type cube. Okay, and over here we got to say, oops, cube.z 300. Okay, we got to set where the cube is going to be in the z-axis. Okay, so now this will not work because the onClick function is not yet and on. So we got to just create one more function, which is the onClick function. Now let's find out what is interactive scene 3D event. Okay, and obviously a void return type. So we got this. Okay, I'm going to put a trace function here to say, we're inside onClick function. Okay, so we have it here. Okay, now we're going to save it again, and we're just going to run it. And it's taking some time because it's a lot more work. Okay, oh, is there an error here? Stack overflow occurred. Is there an error here? Okay, let's have a look at this. Stack overflow occurred. Okay. So let's have a look over here. Private function onClick interactive scene 3D event void. So there was a stack overflow. Okay, so let's see what is wrong here. Okay, so let's have a look. Okay, so let's see what was wrong here. Okay, we got a cube. Okay, unless it's this one. I hope it's not this. Okay, let's just have a look at what's wrong here. Okay, so let's do it big now. How do we debug something like this? Okay, what we can do is that we can, always do this, which is to, okay, and we're going to just save it and run it one more time to see where there's an error somewhere. Okay, so far okay, materials are okay. So let's just move our I know what I did wrong. It's supposed to be scene.addChild. Okay, so what it was trying to do was I was adding the cube to itself, which was wrong. Okay, so which is very bad. Okay, so let's try one more time, and this should work now. As you can see, that programming just well, we make mistakes. No one is perfect. Now that's the reason why we always have to do testing, because when we do testing each time, we eliminate errors when our code is small, and okay, so that's it. Okay, so that's it. So it works now. So we know actually what happens in our code in click event. Okay, so before the code gets so big and so long that we can't trace where is our error, that's why we always want to do testing as often as we can. So always test early and test often. That's the mantra. Okay, so there it is. And notice when I click, I can get the click event, I can get my keyboard events. So that works. So now everything is okay. So A-OK, good. Then we can move on to the next stage. So what's next? Now we want to be able to animate the cube. Okay, so we're gonna be able to, when we press our keyboard events, we are going to set the keyboard, move the cube back and forth. So over here, let's just come over here and we're going to just type this. On key down, we're going to say if e.keycode is equals to keyboard. And we're going to say zooming equals true. So it's true. Okay. So we're going to say this is true. Okay, so what it does is it checks the key code and whether the keyboard is space, and we said, okay, zooming is true. So the next thing is that we're going to override this thing called the onRenderTick function. Now it's something like it's part of the basic view, and it says that okay, at every frame rate, every frame tick, just like the onEnter frame, we are going to do something else. Okay, so what we got to do is come over here. It says, okay, so we got this thing called override. Now this function is already created in our basic view, and it's protected. That means we only allow other subclasses to override it. It's still private. Well, it's something like private, but only classes that are subclasses of this can access it. Okay, so this under onRenderTick. So you must remember this is okay, and okay, so there's this function called override. Now we want to call the superclasses event. Okay, so onRenderTick. Now what happens now? We've got to check if it's zooming, which is if it's true, we've got to do something here. Okay, and over here we've got to type cube.z plus equals to 5 cube.local rotation y plus plus. Okay, so what this will do, the cube z will move it away, and this will start to rotate it by one every frame, 1 degree every frame. Okay, so just save it. Okay, and just run it again. Okay, so over here we got this and we got this. Okay, notice now if I press the keyboard, it goes all the way back. Okay, but if I lift up the keyboard, it just goes back all the way there because we have nothing to detect keyboard up events. Okay, that's how it does it. So what happens when we go up? So over here on the key up, we got to say zooming equals to false. That's it. We don't need to check whether it's spacebar or what because I don't care as long as a key goes up because we only have one keyboard event. Okay. So the next thing is that we got to do is to do tweening. So to do some kind of tweens to make the animation smoother. Now you got to use this thing called the Tweener class. So let's come here. It's similar to the built-in tween class actually in Adobe Flash, but it's it has a few more features, and it allows us to animate any type of object using properties of any class, including custom classes. So what it does is this. Okay, now I'm leaving this here now. Notice what I'm going to do here. I'm going to put in two curly braces, which in what happens is that I'm going to set the properties. What property do I want to set? I'm going to say Z, move back to 300, and in time would be 2. So I'm going to say, okay, fine. Wherever you are, I'm going to add a tween to the cube that makes it go back to the Z-axis, and the time it takes will be 2 seconds. Okay, and we've got to say this, tweener. Okay, so I'm not going to go in the next line. I know the book tells you to go to the next line, but I'm going to just show you what's going to happen here. I'm going to run it just to show you what happens. Okay, so over here, I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to lift up the keyboard. Unfortunately, it's not rotated back, but it does go back. Okay, so notice there. So what I'm going to do now is set the rotation, so you actually rotate. Same thing. Okay, so the cube and the next parameter is actually the property and the time it takes to change it back. Okay, so there's it. So set the rotation back to Y. Okay, and I'm going to save this now and go run it one more time. So come over here, and then notice now it actually rotates back to the original position. Back. Okay, so now it looks much more smoother. Okay, so now that we've done that, okay, so we got to go into the we want to be able to click it so that it will actually rotate 90 degrees. So come over here. I'm going to type here if not tweener is tweening. That means if it's not tweening, then we'll rotate the item. Okay. So if the object that we're clicking is not tweening, which is whatever 3D object that we're using, then we're going to rotate it. Okay, and we're going to say put another tween here. And we'll say cube. Okay, and inside here again, we're going to do is that you got to put curly braces here, and inside here. Now, a good habit, as you can see, is that every time you have an opening brace, you must always close it. So that's why the way I type is not linearly, but I always open and close the braces. So I'm going to say the local rotation Q. Okay, local rotation Y. So plus 90 degrees, and then in the time it takes will be 2 seconds as well. Move this over here. Okay, so that's it. So this will allow us to rotate the item. So let's just run it again. So notice now when I click it, what it does is that it rotates it. There you go. So that's how it works. So the next thing what you got to do is that we're going to add materials, okay? And we got, instead of just using a normal bitmap, we got to use a movie clip. Now if we go over here to our library over here, in our working copy over here, notice there are different materials that are available here. We got our clip material, okay, we got these items here. So what we got to do is that we are going to put this movie clip as one of the materials for our cube. Okay, so let's go back to our make cube function here. Okay, we just created the back face of the cube. Okay, so now we got to create the right side. Okay, so there's a clip material, and the type is actually movie asset material. And we just give it the name of our movie clip. Okay, so is it transparent? Nope, no. So is it animated? Yeah, it's true. Is it unique? Create a unique one? No. Precise? Okay, so the third one, the create unique, is false because whether you want to just use an existing instance of the of this item, no, we're gonna do that. Okay, and the fifth part, precise, whether you want to create a better rendering or a low quality one. But again, you have to balance between processor intensivity. So we gotta set this to false. True. Sorry. So it's false, true, false, true. Okay, so that's it. Again, same thing. We got to say clip mat1 interactive is true, so we allow people to click it. Okay, so over here, we got to just add it over here. Materials dot add material. We got to add clip mat1, and we got to say it's on the right side. Okay, so that's it. So that's how we add the movie clip. So notice I can click over here one more time. I click one more time over here. And notice over here, this is over here. Now notice over here, well, the top there is, there's this thing over here, which is actually this part over here, which is this link here. Now if I come over here, notice there's actually this item here, and I look at the properties here, it says link. It's actually another movie clip which is of type, which has given the name link. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to be able to add a link. So how do I do that? Add a link. So what this does is that, okay, fine, I'm going to get a reference to the movie clip item. Okay, so let's just test to make sure our thing is correct. So no compiler errors, no basic syntax errors. So what this does is that it gets a child by name and then does a casting to a movie clip item. Okay, we're going to add a listener. And we're going to listen to mouse events. And we're going to call this link. So now that we know how to do that, so let's create another function over here. And we're going to say so over here we got say we got to go to blank, okay, but in this all request here we got to put here the website that we want to go to, which is okay, passionrecords.com. So let's come here. So notice now when I come over here, it opens up my browser, it goes to Passion Records. Okay, so that's how you add a link to an object in our Flash. So the next thing is, okay, so now we've done bitmap, we've done movie clip. The next one will be adding a video material. So can we do that using the Paper Vision 3D model? Okay, in this case now, in our previous lesson, what we did was we used this thing called FLV playback object, which does a lot of heavy lifting, but you can also use ActionScript to control video by itself. And in this case, we use three classes which are called the NetConnection, NetStream, and video classes. So we come over here. Okay, so this is the material. So we create the back face, the right side. So we're going to create one more material, which is create the video side of the cube. Okay. Bar and see net connection equals to net new net connection. Okay. So next thing is we got say NC connect now. Okay, we're not going to connect. We set it to now because we're not going to connect to a live streaming server like a Flash media server. Okay, and we got create NetStreams, NS1 NetStream. NS1.play. Okay, and NS1.client equals to new object. Now this line here, what it does is that it gives an object for the video player to store any metadata. Unfortunately, it's they don't give a default, so I find this line a bit annoying, but well, that's how the Paper Vision library is written. Okay, and we got to do this var vid1 video equals to new video. Okay, which is how we got to play it in a video object, and we got to say vid1 dot attach NetStream, which is NS1. Okay. Now, normally in Flash, what we do is that we add a child to display video clips. However, since it's being used in the Paper Vision library, we will create an instance of this thing called a video stream material. Okay. Oops, sorry, there's a comma there. Okay, so one is the videos, the video, and the second one is the NetStream. So it takes these two. And finally, we got to say vidmat1.animated is true. So we got to tell the Paper Vision is animated, and we got to say it is also interactive because we want to allow people to click. Okay, and what we got to do here is we got to add one more over here, which is materials. Add material vidmat1, and we're going to say left. Okay. So now that we've done this, and we've got to test it out. So save it. No syntax errors, and we're going to run it now. Okay, so notice now there is actually a video playing here, and you can hear the music being played. Okay, so we got to add one more video to show they can add more than one video. So very simple, we just got to come over here. And we're just going to come over here and just copy everything over here. And paste it all here. Front. I'm just going to change the names to 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2. The name of this file would be front.fov. And then over here, we just come here, materials, vid, map 2, and we say it goes to the front. That's it, save, and we run it again. Okay, so there's a video here. I notice this video, this is the front one, and you notice this flower is opening. And that's it. We're done. So thank you very much, and thank you for following me in this series here on ActionScript 3.0 for Flash CS5 and also Flash CS6. Minor differences, but there it is. And we open up in Passion Records. So some things to try on your own. You can you can observe the paper vision documentation. But of course, one thing is that if you search on Google, I mean, there are lots of things on Google here, and okay, I'll open this one. So notice, so you can see like we actually click on the link. Now, if we go to the paper vision docs, okay. pv3d.org. I don't think it works because I think the website is down and it's not being maintained anymore. So actually you go to paper vision. Unfortunately it's dead. Okay, because I've checked it already, it's dead. So but sorry, papervision3d.org. So the website is gone, so unfortunately because of that, well, there are all sorts of other websites you can go. You can look for different type of ActionScript libraries. Okay, so over here, if you go over here now, all sorts of different libraries are available. So there are all sorts of libraries here that you can find, Flash 3D engines and things like that. Now, very interesting things are, for example, this SourceForge engine. And you can actually do this in Flash. So if you get the libraries, you can do some sort of ragdoll physics. You can actually go to the tweening libraries, for example. Okay, so you can go to demos, and you can actually come over here and see how you can do tweens here. Okay, so it's all sorts of animation they can do. Okay, so thank you very much, and see you in my next tutorial or whatever I'm going to be doing next. It could be some other Adobe product. Thank you very much, and good night.